Hello and a warm welcome to the SimHanger. My name's Mark, the SimHanger for all things flight sim related. Can you guess where we are? It's one of the default handcrafted airports in all versions of Microsoft Flight Simulator. It belongs to the United Kingdom but is on the Mediterranean coast, and perhaps best known for having a road that crosses straight through the center of the runway. Yes, welcome to Lima X-Ray Golf Bravo. This is Gibraltar. But we're not here today to marvel at the airport, far from it. We're going to be having a look at a single-engine jet, a first third-party jet add-on, the Aermacchi MB339, and we're going to be landing it on an aircraft carrier. The 339 has been developed by India Foxt Echo Visual Simulations, and it's available directly on the Flight Simulator Marketplace as well as other retailers. You'll immediately be struck by the beautiful texturing work and attention to detail on this aircraft. The MB339 is used mainly as a military jet trainer or light attack aircraft. She's subsonic, only 550 odd miles per hour, manufactured in Italy in the mid-70s. This is not a study level aircraft, but then again no jet in Microsoft Flight Simulator is at this point, but there's a level of system simulation and you can get up in the air quick and easy. This add-on will set you back just under £20 or something around $25 US. At the time of recording there are other jet fighters available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. From Braddock 3D comes the Eurofighter Typhoon. I can't recommend the aircraft at this time, but the developer is updating it on a very regular basis and it's improving day by day. One to keep an eye on, and the cost is about the same as the MB339. The other option of course is the DC Designs F-15, an iconic aircraft. But again at this time I can't recommend it for a number of reasons, but mainly due to the poor texturing in the cockpit. I'm sure it'll be updated and improved as time goes by, but right now, considering its purchase price, it's just no. It simply isn't up to the standard of aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just a few nautical miles out at sea from Gibraltar is the second add-on we'll be looking at. It's the Nimitz class aircraft carrier, and it's from Hard Deck Simulations. This add-on will cost you just over £11 or $15 US. Across the world you get 5 aircraft carriers positioned off Key West, San Francisco, New York, obviously Gibraltar, and also Dubai. It operates as a module, so you need to start it once the sim is up and running. It offers a rest-a-cable landing and catapult launch, although these are not animated at this time, apparently due to restrictions with the Microsoft SDK. A number of options are configurable, so you can launch just about any aircraft off the aircraft carrier. Haven't tried my Jumbo 747 yet. I purchased my copy of this program through the Flight Sim outlet, link in the notes below. We're cold and dark. Let's see how easy it is to get this bird up in the air. Generator switch on. Let's get some lights on. First of all, we'll put our beacon lights on and then our nav lights. Just a note, I'm not following a checklist, so don't shoot me down for any errors or omissions. My lights are on. I can now put on my generators. 1 and 2, they're on. I'm going to turn on my fuel by pushing the red cover switch forward. And I'll also do the same for the aileron servos. Now put my master switch on and put on the limiter. That's done. We're almost ready for startup now. Just put on my comms. That's done. We can now start the engines. We're going to press the starter button and then watch the RPM gauge and let it get to about 10% and then advance the throttle to feed in fuel. And we can hear the engines starting to whir away. And we'll keep an eye on the RPM gauge and see as it starts to move towards the 10%. RPM's now at 10%, so we can move the throttle forward and just hold it forward slightly till we're at about 20%, and then we can return it to idle. We have a successful startup. Generator 1 just starting to read now. Gen 2 will kick in shortly. There it goes. Not that cold today, but we'll put our anti-icing on just as a safety measure, as well as our pitot heat. And although we won't need it today, for the sake of completeness, put our oxygen on, and we should get the standard oxygen indicator. And lastly, we can put our anti-skid on. It takes a little while, but the indicator in the cockpit will eventually go off. The steering can't be switched on and off. That's not modeled at this time. It's a bit noisy, so let's close the canopy. That's a little better, and now let's lock the canopy into place. And last but not least, by clicking just on the side here, we're going to take the safety pin out of the ejector seat and store it there where it's visible. Our flaps were fully down when we entered the aircraft, so we're just going to raise them. The flap lever is on the far side of the throttle. Quite difficult to get at. Suggest you map it to a controller. And now we've set it 1 notch down for takeoff. All that remains for us to do is to put the landing lights on, and we're ready to go. A quick check on P's and T's. They're all looking okay. Generators, they're both good. We're going to taxi out to runway 27 for a departure straight out. Initially, then a left bank and head towards our carrier. Little bit of throttle to get her started, and then back to idle, and she just pushes herself along nicely. I stand to be corrected, but as far as I know, there's no shared cockpit feature in this aircraft at this time. Runway 27 ahead, and we're going to go straight ahead and line up. We're not going to need it today, but you can put the GPS on. I'm not sure how much functionality there is in it. I haven't tried it, but it is nominal. Slowly advance the throttle forward, and we're looking for about 120 knots for liftoff. Positive climb, gear away. 400 feet, and we're going to retract our flaps, pulling the thrust back to 90% so we don't overstress the engine. Now doing the obligatory left bank so we don't fly into Spanish airspace and create an international incident. We're coming up on 200 knots and we're climbing at just under 6,000 feet per minute. In terms of speed and power, this aircraft can't compete with the likes of an F-15. But it'll get you up and going quite quickly, and she handles beautifully. What a view, the beauty of Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can see why this jet is used for training. She's very responsive, and it's quite easy to get yourself out of trouble. I'm now going vertical and she will soon stall. There we go, right wing dipping down. I'm going to let the nose go down and gain some airspeed, which she does very, very quickly indeed. And let's try a quick transition to inverted flight. Well, that was easy. Let's try the tricky part and try and right ourselves. Apologies in advance if my lack of skill flying jets is clearly evident. Well, we're already at 15,000 feet and I need to start putting my nose down, and let's get down and head towards that carrier. It's about 9:30 in the morning and the sun is coming up. Now got my nose down and we're heading through the clouds. "3,000 feet and we're just clearing the clouds. Now, where's that aircraft carrier? Ah, there it is. My speed brake's fully deployed and below 150 knots, and I can get my gear down and first stage of flaps. I'll keep varying the use of my speed brake to make sure I stay below the 150 mark. I've left the turn a little late, but I should be able to correct. Speed 120, I don't want to go below about 110 till I'm right on final, and not below 100 knots at any stage. I need to land on or just before the arrestor cables across the runway. Otherwise I'm going to go flying off the other end. Ooh, from 100 knots to 0 in about 25 meters. But hey, we're down. I'm now going to taxi back to the beginning of the runway, and we're going to try a catapult launch and another landing, but this time in VR. I'm in my HP Reverb Pro headset. My VR settings are as per my recent video, links in the notes below. The instructions are line up at the catapult, thrust to 95% or more, and then release the parking brake. And we're away. According to the developer, the blast doors and arrestor cables will be animated pending an SDK update from Microsoft. Gear retracted immediately and flaps up as well. Being in VR, I really get a sensation of the speed. We're touching 200 knots already. We're just going to do a quick circuit and then line up for a final on the carrier again. My in-sim experience is silky smooth. Any juddering is due to the recording, I'm afraid. I talked earlier about the air brake, which is a little unusual on this aircraft. Look at this. Now pulling out the air brake and now retracting the air brake. I must say the external camera system in Microsoft Flight Simulator works great in VR as well. Now turning on to the base leg. Keeping an eye on my speed, I don't want to get too fast. Now deploying my air brake and bringing it back to 150. Now shortly be deploying the gear and first stage of flaps. The developers paid quite a lot of attention to the wear and tear in this 1970s-80s jet. There's scratches and scuffs everywhere, just as you would expect. Now on final, got myself a little bit too low, so I need to hold this altitude just for a little bit longer. What an experience this is in VR, it's fantastic. Time to fasten those seatbelts. Well, that approach was a little bit low, but great fun. In the modern world, there can be some trying times at the moment. And one of the beauties of flight simulation is it allows you to escape. And the MB339 and the aircraft carrier, well, it's just a bit of fun. At this time, with the development tools limited, yes, there are quite a number of restrictions with both the jet and the aircraft carrier. And these products are not designed to compete with the likes of DCS. Jets and aircraft carriers in DCS are their specialities. In Microsoft Flight Simulator at this time, well, it's just a development and a further evidence of the sim's versatility and flexibility, and it will improve over time. There's no doubt that Microsoft Flight Simulator has raised expectations in terms of quality from third-party developers. And hopefully DC Designs and their F-15 can improve over time. I'm sure they will, as FSX standard cockpits are not acceptable in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and certainly not at $40 US. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've had some fun. I certainly have. Stay safe, see you soon, and bye for now.